It's that time once again as another My Hero Academia episode has come and gone, and it has finally come time to survey the damage done by finally defeating Overhaul. My reviews are going to work in a way where I talk about the episode and its contents while glancing over what I think was cool, talk about my favorite character and moment in the episode, and then if I feel like there is anything worth mentioning in regards to it, I'll also talk about my least favorite character and moment. With that introduction out of the way, it's time to find out the fate of our heroes after a most harrowing encounter with evil. The episode opens up with Kronos still holding down Razorhead as a structure above him shakes about. He comments that things have taken too long and thinks back to the times with Overhaul where he utterly dominated people in fights. Overhaul has constantly put in an exorbitant amount of effort since he was younger to protect the name of the Hasakai, and there is just no way he could ever lose a fight as important as this one. Kronos figures that even if Overhaul somehow loses, he'll take the serum and try his best to make the realities of the young head come true, and produces a knife. He attempts to drive it into the back of Razorhead, but his arm is suddenly impaled by Sun Eater, who's arrived just in time. He is holding on to Togata with his other arm, and police enter the room to arrest Chrono. Frappy hops in and finds that Togata has already been retrieved, and then fills in Sun Eater on the battle happening above. We now reach the end of the last episode once more, with Deku standing victorious against a completely destroyed Overhaul. There is no chance for a celebration, however, as Ares' quirk grows even stronger and begins to overwhelm Deku, dropping him to his knees. As we found out in the last episode, Ares' quirk is Rewind, and since Deku isn't currently destroying his body by moving around at 100% with One For All, there is nothing he can do to stop his body from being deteriorated. While he struggles through that, Overhaul's body twitches and a flashback plays out in his mind. As a child, Overhaul got into a fight with someone because they referred to the Hasakai as being villains. The old head tells Overhaul that since they are the Yakuza, they cannot raise a hand in retaliation when referred to in such a way. He thanks him for trying so hard to protect the honor of the group regardless though. By either sheer force of will, or perhaps an instinct, Overhaul screams out and raises one of his massive hands into the sky and drops it down quickly on top of Deku and Eri. Almost instantaneously, however, Ares' quirk begins to take effect on Overhaul as well, pulling him apart from the Hasakai member he was merged with. As the two split apart and Overhaul is free-falling, Uraraka leaps up and retains him as they fall to the ground. Ryukyu pulls herself up out of the hole, giving Sun Eater and Togata a bridge to get back up as quickly as possible. Uraraka gives her an update, but all eyes end up back on Deku, who is still seemingly destroyed by Eri and trying to hold this body together. Eri's a wreck as she begs for her quirk to stop so she doesn't end up killing him, remembering the words Overhaul haunted her with that everything she does leads to people dying. Her quirk inevitably gets worse as she starts to lose emotional control, but thankfully, Frappy has brought Eraserhead back to the surface as well, and helps him lift his head up quickly so he can use his quirk to stop Ares. Eri collapses on Midoriya's back and he reaches around to grab hold of her, the pain her quirk caused finally subsiding in an instant. From there, Ryukyu takes control of the situation and begins directing police and heroes around to try and round up everyone who is hurt and arrest those defeated. She gives a warning that the League of Villains may be nearby, but Token and Twice have already slipped away without being spotted. A group of policemen and Centipeder are able to restrain Rappa and take him and Tengai into custody, while quickly bringing aid to Kirishima and Fat Gum. We are treated to a montage of other members of the Eight Bullets being arrested as well as the old head's comatose body being located. All the heroes who were injured are seen being wheeled out by medical personnel as well, most looking like they've survived their ordeals. Deku is holding Eri in his arms, but she has grown feverish since passing out. He hands her over to an EMT, and the detective in charge of this case lets him know that they'll be heading to the hospital. Deku notices out of the corner of his eye that two EMTs are wheeling someone into an ambulance while remarking that their pulse is dropping. It is Sir Nighteye, and Deku rushes over to him and is about to start blurting something out, but is quickly stopped by Nighteye speaking out his name. This was a different future than the one Nighteye had saw, and he can't understand why it happened. Though what matters is that Deku made Nighteye's wish a reality. He twisted the future. While fighting back tears, Deku admits to Nighteye that All Might said he would live regardless of what Night-Eye's foresight saw. All Might said he couldn't face Nighteye, but he should definitely see him again and they hang in there. The EMTs push back Deku and tell him that they need to get going, and put Nighteye into the back and drive off. Ryukyu comes to Deku and lets him know that there are people who still need help and that this isn't the time to celebrate yet, but he deserves to be thanked. We flash over to a police transport who are driving down on a highway quickly, apparently transporting 11 members of the Hasakai to be taken to a hospital and treated before being locked away. This transport also has bullets in their possession, and all seems to be going well, though you guys should know that nothing is ever this easy in a show like this. A truck pulls ahead of the lead car in the transport, and sitting atop, it's Shigaraki. The back doors of the truck sling open to show Dabby and Mr. Compress, and it appears though the League isn't done with Overhaul just yet. Mr. Compress is speaking with someone on a cell phone, thanking them for the information that led them to intercept the transport. The person on the other end, of course, is Toga, and she apologizes for making them have to get involved, but that they'll be doing good by their plans regardless. The League attacks the police, and quickly a hero pops out from one of the vehicles to try and counter them. This is a new hero I don't think we've seen before in the anime. Snatch the Sand Hero. Shigaraki leaps from the top of the truck and tries to attack the pro hero, but he uses his sand to make a shield. Since sand is impossible to get all 5 fingers on, Shigaraki can't use his quirk. However, it appears as though Shigaraki was merely the decoy, as Mr. Compress throws at some marbles and pops a giant rock out underneath the police car Snatch on, flipping it over. Shigaraki is sent flying onto the truck holding Overhaul and breaks through the windshield, grabbing hold of the steering wheel and sending it weaving all over the place. Snatch was too busy saving an officer to stop Shigaraki, and Dabby chastises him a little over having to prioritize saving a life. Snatch accuses Dabby of a recent stretch of burned corpses being found all around, and immediately attacks him, questioning if he's ever thought about the lives of others that those people murdered leave behind. Without much of a fight though, Mr. Compress is able to capture Snatch almost instantly and leave within a marble. Dabby comments that since some of the fire was also captured in the marble of Snatch, he will probably die since he can only make his upper body in the sand. Over at the now wrecked truck, Shigaraki has pulled Overhaul out and kicked him over into the street. Overhaul asks Shigaraki if he has come to kill him, and the League leader decides that they're going to do to Overhaul what he would hate most. In an oddly gruesome move, Mr. Compress drops a marble down on Overhaul's arms and captures it, leaving his left hand completely detached from his body from the wrist down. Shigaraki takes hold of the serums and asks which one is the completed product, but doesn't give Overhaul a chance to answer. Shigaraki decides that someone who wants to take people's quirks shouldn't have one of his own, and he grabs hold of Overhaul's arm and starts to make it decay before cutting it off entirely, so his entire body doesn't get destroyed. In a matter of moments, not long after being defeated by Deku, Overhaul has now lost the ability to his quirk as he no longer has hands. In a similar fashion to how Overhaul mocked Togata after taking his quirk from him, Shigaraki does the same and leaves Overhaul mind broken and screaming in the middle of the road. We take a step back now to look at the damage done to the surrounding area following the raid, where thankfully no civilian was seriously injured and a handful of buildings ended up being destroyed. Najiri heads over to some heroes talking about the damage and lets them know that it was thanks to Deku keeping the fight with Overhaul mostly in the sky that so much of the neighborhood was left unharmed. Back at the hospital, Deku is given a clean bill of health thanks to Aries' quirk having cleared up any and all injuries he sustained during the raid. Eraserhead catches up with Deku, letting him know that he was alright after having some stitches. The two walk through the hospital together, and Eraserhead can't help but apologize to Deku for not being there for him when it counted. Deku is quick to let Eraser know it's alright, and asks him for an update on everyone else. Kirishima is covered in cuts and bruises, but will be fine, and Sun Eater has suffered a cracked bone in his face, but shouldn't even be left without a scar from his injuries. Fatgum has been dealt a couple broken bones around his body, but is also expected to make a full recovery. Rocklock should be fine as well, as the blade missed any vital organs when he was stabbed. Deku seems incredibly relieved, but is quick to ask about what is being done for Eri. Apparently she still is suffering from a fever, and is sleeping while also being quarantined. This disappoints Deku quite a bit, but it was decided based on the information that Deku himself gave, that she should be kept separate from others right now. If something activates Eri's quirk again, Eraserhead will be the only one who can stop her, and he can't feasibly be there all the time. Eraserhead brings up the prospect that Aries' quirk could become so strong that even Deku destroying his own body constantly wouldn't be enough to counter the quirk. Since Aries' quirk only seems to work on living beings, training her to use it isn't going to be an easy task for anything to take lightly. The two reach a door, and Eraserhead reaffirms the fact that they cannot rely on Aries' quirk to help them, and that they only need to accept what is about to come. A door opens, and beyond it is Night-Eye's psychic Bubble Girl and Centipede, Recovery Girl, and All Might. Unfortunately, it appears as though I was right, as the word comes out that there is nothing that can be done to help Nighteye. He is on the verge of death, and everyone has gathered together. All Might walks over to Night-Eye's side, and the former sidekick looks up at his hero. Night-Eye notices him and comments that he finally came to see him again on his deathbed, and All Might struggles to respond. Deku walks in beside All Might and begs him to survive, but all Night-Eye can do is smile and let All Might know that he doesn't resent him. All Night-Eye has ever wanted was for All Might to be happy, and if he has decided to fight on, then he should. All Might pleads with Night-Eye to fight on as well, so he could atone for all he has done up to now. Night-Eye says there is nothing to atone for, and all he wanted was to change the future, where All Might was killed. He constantly looked for ways to change it, but to no avail. However, on this day, Deku showed him that the future can be changed. It may have something to do with energy, perhaps a desire with no room for doubt that could truly change the future. It seemed like everyone's energy converged upon Deku and released itself to change what he had seen. Just as Nighteye is about to speak at his only regret, Togata bursts into the room and calls out to him. Togata limps over and leans on Nighteye's bed, demanding that he survive. Nighteye laments the fact that Togata has suffered so much because of him, but Togata assures Nighteye that it was because of his teachings that he was able to become so strong. He begs for Nighteye to teach him more through his tears. In his mind, Nighteye apologizes to Togata, saying that he had originally saw him as nothing more than a vessel for a one-for-all, but as he followed Nighteye and believed in him, he slowly turned into his pride. One last time, Nighteye activates his foresight on Togata and lets him know that he'll become a finer hero than anyone else. That is the only future that should never be changed. Nighteye puts a smile on his face and reminds everyone else to do the same, as a society without cheer and humor will never have a bright future. In that moment, Nighteye passes away and the episode comes to a close. This was quite possibly the most emotional episode of My Hero Academia since the beginning of the anime's run, and it really got me. It was rough already, feeling like this could be it for Nighteye, but seeing it happen was just such a sobering experience. Nighteye quickly became a favorite of mine early on to his appearance in this season, and now knowing that we won't get to see him anymore really sort of hurts. He left a lasting impression on so many important characters in this series, and I can't begin to imagine where All Might goes from here. If there is any solace that he can take in the death of his friend, it's that in his final moments he finally accepted that the future can be changed. Togata may no longer have his master around anymore, but those parting words will surely leave an impression on him forever, just as all the teachings from Nighteye have. The next episode will be the start of a new arc, which I've been told by a few people isn't exactly going to be the most exciting arc ever, but I'm still looking forward to it. After so much time away, we're finally back at UA, and it's time for the school festival. That's not going to be all though, as it looks like we might be seeing Gran Torino in action as it continues his pursuit for the League of Villains. My hero still has plenty of stories to tell, and I'm just hoping for at least the rest of the season it isn't sad. Well, that's going to do it for my review of My Hero Academia Season 4, Episode 14, Bright Future. If you guys enjoyed this one, let me know in the comments below and subscribe to Mystic Sage and notifications on so you don't miss my review of the 4th season's next great episode. I've got a lot of great videos about My Hero Academia already on the channel and about plenty of other anime as well as with more to come. I hope you guys have been enjoying these reviews and the show so far as well, and I'll be back at it again soon with another review of the next My Hero episode.